Hey, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the winners and losers from the first round of the draft. Probably just basically the whole draft. The second round, it's not that it's a slop fest. It's just nothing as cosmic or noteworthy really will happen. Maybe I eat my words tomorrow. But either way, as I sit here in LaGuardia on the way home, I thought I'd tell you guys what the past 2 days in Brooklyn at the NBA draft we saw. So basically, we went to the media green room availability yesterday, and then today we sat in the gallows of Barclays now as I await my flight to board and to go home to my fiance and my dog. I wrote my article for Hoops Hype basically saying, like, okay, I really only have two losers, and it's not even like losers because I think that's just such a like negative way of looking at it. I think you rather look at it at a glass half full kind of lens. And with that being said, the obvious one, Hansen Yang, being drafted 16th overall. Really, it's just that you could have just pulled what the Grizzlies did a few seasons ago in the 2021 draft and trade back into the first round end of it to get his restricted free agency, which then would have probably costed you what? You already had made a couple trades. You had the assets to do it. So I just think trading up and getting yourself Yang just doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, because they basically had already traded back, and why didn't they just trade back again? In this sense, they basically traded up. I know they didn't really trade up. They were in a trade with the Grizzlies, who the Grizzlies traded up, and like they were able to, get compensated for that. But wouldn't you just go back 5-10 picks? I just think that's better value. I mean, we could, again, hindsight's going to be 2020. If he really is the Chinese Jokic, this is going to be an incredible vision by Joe Cronin and Mike Schmidt. But like right now, you traded back. You could have probably traded back once, but instead it negates the whole like dub you got for trading back, because it's just a really high swing. I have no problem with it, like if you had just done it a bunch picks later, like at the end of the first, but we're just not going to go into the weeds with that one. He's a shot blocking, really good passing, floor spacing big, who won Defensive Player of the Year in China last year. While the next guy is Derik Queen. I guess both big men, but Derik Queen's really just, they traded up 10 spots and traded their first round pick unprotected to Atlanta. And I told somebody, I was like, this kind of like mirrors Mo Williams being traded to the Clippers. Obviously for Baron Davis, this would be like Jordan Poole and CJ McCollum. However, and like that wasn't really a risky move. That wasn't anything. But now you send that pick and then you draft. And I like Jeremiah Fetus. I thought that was a great pick. And they were very fortunate that he was available at where he fell, because I thought he was going to go earlier. But as a result, I feel like getting Queen where they did, just by like moving up 10 spots, I just think that's like not the best value one could get out of that. And you could have just stayed where you were and gotten a different big man. Because the other thing is like Derik Queen's style plays a little bit slower back to the basket. Yeah, he's a good passing big man. The jump shot's questionable, but teaching someone how to shoot is one of the easiest things, or most teachable skills. And like he has certain intangibles that you like. Now, is he a little undersized and like not the most athletic? Like it's not like he's not athletic, but he isn't like gonna pop off. So it just does make the fit with Zion a little questionable. And then you already have East Messi. All right, let's just get into the good. First off, Kasparis Yagachonis going to Miami, perfect fit. Everyone's already going to say like the Goran Dragic type sets, running horn sets, pistol actions. He's going to be someone who's going to be able to play on or off ball, but really I think it's going to be able to allow Tyler Hero to be even more lethal, to go back his natural position of being, a two guard instead of kind of being like the lead guard, and having guys like Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware to play off of is going to be great for Kasparis. And fellow Europeans Pelle Larsson and Nikola Jovic were rookies, and Jovic second year. Players who were able to, I guess technically you could say, like Jovic had been playing since his, what? This was year 3 for Jovic, right? And now going into year 4, but he played more his second year and then his third year, this being his third year in the NBA, but second actually getting minutes. We're able to break into Eric Spoelstra's rotation. So I just think this is really good value for him falling to them, which I don't think was expected. Now, Memphis getting Cedric Howard to 6'6" and shoes 7'2" wingspan. A guy who's, a 38% three-point shooter over the last 2 years on, I believe, near or over 150 attempts from three. He's someone who's over 60% or near 60%. I'm doing this all off the head, off the dome, but shooting at the rim. Yeah, he's a little bit of a below the rim finisher, but like he can get to his spots. The guy's got a great personality, talking to him, real charismatic, personal guy. And he can seriously guard 1 through 4. Like, that has the defensive ability to stop closeouts, to be a point of attack guy. And with Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, who's a fellow Washington State Wazoo alum, and Cedric Howard now together, I think that committee is maybe better than Desmond Bane. And you still have Cole Anthony in tow. Like, that's a pretty good job by the Grizzlies right there for what they were able to do. And they traded up with Portland, basically swapping picks. And I just think that was very, very, like, clutch of them. Not clutch, but like just seeking good value. I honestly thought, I didn't think Cedric was going to be available for where they were drafting, and they went up and got what they wanted. Utah was another team. I like that they got a veteran in Walter Clayton Jr., who at worst is going to be a bridge between whoever is the point guard of the future, however they answer that, or he is going to be the point guard of the future. He does have a little bit of Patty Mills in his game, being more of like an undersized 2 guard who can facilitate, but is more just like a volume shooter. And then they swung on upside with Ace Bailey, which you can't go wrong. He fell to them. It's what you do when a player who has the potential that Ace does to be a 2-way combo forward with all-star potential drops to you. It's just you take the swing. And I know people are going to be like, well, you didn't want to go there or didn't want to work out there. I was like, you selected him, and like now you roll with it. Charlotte, I love both McNeely and Colin Knippel. 2 of the best shooters in the class, guys who do the little things. They don't need the ball in their hands. They can score when the ball's in their hands. They can play made for others. They can play the 2, the 3. I think McNeely down the road can play some of the 4, more of a Corey Kispert role, while I think Colin Knippel's a less defensive, better offensive version of DeAndre Hunter, a little smaller. But it gives them flexibility in his connective pieces that can fit alongside LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. And I think also the value that they got for Mark Williams was great. I think that was a really good deal. And then talking about Mark Williams, they do a double dip of taking, Kamal Malawach, and then as well as Mark Williams. Mark Williams being a guy who has some durability concerns, but if it all works out, I mean, he's a guy who's an elite big that they'll extend and then eventually probably still trade regardless. And then Kamal Malawach can just be developed slower than forcing him, and they still have Oso Iguodaro and Nick Richards who can help them out. So I think that's like really good value how they were able to do that. And if Mark doesn't work out, they can just write that off. And yeah, it might have cost them a little, but it was like a swing that was worth it. It was a late pick, so I thought that was good value right there. Then Trey Johnson and Will Riley. I think Will Riley being a guy that you just swing, you take an upside guy, kind of sort of like what they did with Keyshawn George last year. And then Trey Johnson's the best scorer in this draft, one of the most natural scorers we've seen come out of college since maybe Cam Thomas. And I really like comparison. Someone told me he's like, he could really be a bigger Malik Monk. And if that's the case, it's a really damn good player. Now, the Bulls, they took the highest potential, best pick available in Noah Esingay, who some people are saying is like Pascal Siakam-like potential. And with Patrick Williams being reported as a guy on the trade block, I think Esingay and Matas Buzelis could become a freaky athletic duo that'll kill you in transition, both offensive and defensively, but specifically on offense with a guy who can be a really good outlet passer in Josh Giddey. Then obviously Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. I think, getting a guy in Dylan Harper, we've talked all about it. It was a left-handed Cade Cunningham. That's just great. That's just going to work. I love that. But Carter Bryant being available right there, especially now that they have Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Carter Bryant, that's just a lot of length and size. And a guy who plays the combo forward position is super young and just really coachable, moldable. He'll fit perfectly in this defensive two-way kind of like structure or identity that the San Antonio Spurs are building down there alongside Mr. Victor Wembanyama. And yes, the final one we're going to talk, I guess this is a loser or a neutral. It depends on how it goes. The Brooklyn Nets set a record for the most for first round picks selected in an NBA draft at 5, and the most since 2009 when 4 were taken. They took Yagor Demon, a guard, Nolan Traore, a guard, Drake Powell, swingman, like uber athletic, jump out the gym athlete, who's a little passive on offense. If they could tap that. Nolan Traore is a really good pick and roll point guard who had a good start or end the year shooting wise, but had a rough start, kind of streaky. Yagor Demon used to be considered a wonderkin, basically was like heralded as the best prospect in Real Madrid since Luka Doncic. And then like, I just think he could be a guy like, look, you take a swing on him, it was worth it. Then Barrett and Seraph seems like he's going to be probably a draft stash and could follow a career path like Yam Madar. Maybe doesn't come over or he does come over. And then they took his Israeli brother and Danny Wolf, the big man, who kind of works out perfect if they do or don't could keep Deron Sharp. But if Noah Clowney is more of just a pure big and Nick Claxton sticks around, you have Danny Wolf who can be like an offensive shooting guy. But yeah, that's all. Let me hear your thoughts.